Well, welcome, and I am your host, and my name is Britton. Today, I just wanted to get on here before we start our conversation and let you know that I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I speak to people that are in those professions, and this channel is for information only. Hopefully, it's good information that you can apply to your life. So, as I speak to those guests, and if you feel like you want to support any of those, some of them are authors, blogs, mental health advocates. They have foundations, not-for-profits. If you want to support those people, I'll put the links in the description below. Also, if you'd like to support the Suicide Monk podcast and help keep this moving forward, I'll put that GoFundMe on the link below. I'll put the link down there for the Ashes to Life coaching as well. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us keep moving forward. And any prayers, lifting up, good vibes, we will take them. Thanks a lot. Again, we'll see you on the good side. Well, welcome to the Suicide Monk, and my name is Britton Day, and I am your host. Today we have a good friend and guest. His name is Jimmy Diaz, and he's out of the East Coast. He is a survivor of 9/11, and he is going to talk to us about his story and what that did and how that's affected him in his current life. And kind of, we're going to go back a little bit before that and talk to him about maybe some of his upbringing and what it was like growing up in that East Coast atmosphere.
Yeah, it's a little tough. I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, or Newark, like we call it, N-O-R-K. It's a very, what could I say? I bounced around the first couple of years of my life through, I don't know if you're familiar, they had the 1967 riots, kind of burned down half of the city. So we had to move, so I went from one school to another school, and then finally to my final resting place that they call it the Ironbound, which is close to Newark Airport in Port Newark. And most of the people in that neighborhood were union port workers. They all unloaded the boats back in. I remember the stories they told about carrying bushels of bananas, always being afraid of getting stung by a tarantula or something. That was one of the going things. But it was very, how could I put it, kind of a mafia, very kind of, underground thing, where, that's just the neighborhood I grew up in.
That's you come from the grit then, right? It's just
Big time.
The streets. And what was that like? We see a lot of movies about it and America about basically those neighborhoods. And what was that like for you growing up? And a lot of baseball, and I mean, there's everything. It was just a lot of sports and soccer on the streets. And
there was a lot of sports, believe it or not. That was the good thing and the bad thing, because most of my friends, they were athletes, and somehow or other they got hurt, either playing basketball or football or something, the shoulder or neck or this or that. And they went, and the doctor would give them oxycodone, and then they would get oxycodone anymore. They started with the heroin, and then the heroin and cocaine. And then eventually, by the time I was in my 20s, about half of my friends were dead from overdoses or from hepatitis C, from sharing needles and that kind of stuff. That kind of went along with the neighborhood. And I'm not talking about this as a, low income, it was a upper middle class neighborhood, that I was in, towards the end. So not the Newark that everybody thinks about, and parts of the city are really, really, really bad. At least was,
Yeah. So that's amazing. So you didn't get involved in the drug use and all that, and
no, I was
good upbringing.
Back in the days, that was it. They used to make fun of me because, you're a hippie, and they trusted the pharmaceuticals, and the pharmaceuticals led them down a bad road, and that's what,
They're still doing it.
That's it.
So, did you grow up in a pretty good home life? Pretty solid, and
Yeah, pretty solid. My mother worked for Western Electric. My father was a welder.
oh, nice.
Um, I have two brothers and a sister. Uh, pretty much pretty average. We all went to college. Well, except
Yeah.
my older
Okay.
half, I should say. But he did good too. He was a foreman in a factory. Or he got me my first job working in a driving a forklift in a freezer. Lasted me about a week. It never got any colder, any warmer than 20 degrees in that thing.
Right.
I'm not, uh, I'm not built for cold weather.
Well, you're not in the best place for cold either. It gets really
Exactly.
cold there. But yeah, that's funny. Um, so what took you into being an electrician?
Actually,
What?
I had a 4-year scholarship for college. I did 2 years, and I was halfway through my second year, and I'm looking around at other people that graduated. This is now 1975, 74, 75. The bottom had dropped out of the economy. Nobody
Hmm,
could get a job. People had gotten, uh, had graduated, and like I said, they couldn't get a job, and then they couldn't pay for the, tuition fees that they were paying because,
right.
everybody took, back in my day, we took a loan to go to college. I got lucky. I had a 4-year scholarship. So, um,
What for?
scholastic. That
Really?
was funny thing in college. I mean, in high school, because I always had long hair, was a hippie, and they. Oh, how did you? I got the second highest SAT in school. How did you do that? I was like, I don't know.
I wrote
I
the
had no
answers
idea.
down correctly.
Just,
That's funny.
but you know, well, what I really wanted to do, I have more of an artsy background. I've
Okay.
always liked, you know, drawing and music and stuff like that. So I really wanted to. Architecture was really my goal, back in the day. So I had planned on going to school, and then I said, well, I need something so I can live. So I had an opportunity to get into an apprenticeship, which was a 5-year apprenticeship, and I planned on going back to college, finishing college, going back to architect, engineering school, becoming an architect. However, you get married, the first kid comes, da da da, you know.
Right. Right.
So so I did close to 40 years as a electrician in Manhattan.
So you wanted to
Really like
design, right?
my first job as an apprentice was working in the World Trade Center. The World Trade Center the old World Trade Center had just topped out. I think it was 1973 they topped out. I started working there in 75. We took 2 years. My mechanic and I, we went from B3, which is the three basements, to 108th floor. And we ran pipes in every other floor. It was to measure the sway of the building.
Oh.
And a windy day, the building would actually sway 18 inches at the
Oh
top.
wow.
On an empty floor, you can actually hear the creaking, from the, it's kind of
That's
weird.
creepy.
Yeah, that's great. I also, over the years, going back and forth, I kept getting sent back there because of being so familiar with the building and everything. So, if there was ever a contract, I went through about 4 or 5 different contractors. I'd go back to work, go back to the union, get back in the, when the job was over, you go back to the union, and they send you out, and they says, oh, you have, a lot of time in the trade center. So most of
Hmm.
the time, I went back to the trade center.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I changed the aviation light on the antenna.
Oh,
That was pretty cool. It's a lot scarier than it sounds. It's actually a big fiberglass tube that you climb up in the
climb
center.
up and through. Yeah.
It's not
And
that.
you're carabinered in too, aren't you? You're on a lifeline on the ladders.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're
Yeah. Yeah.
always. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not, like I said, not as scary as it sounds. You always have the other guy. Your second watching out.
Yeah.
But you also The reason I would do it is because you get double time and a half, in a week, time and a half on straight time. So, you know.
Wow. Yeah, I do that too. My dad was a linesman, so
Oh,
he
so you know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. He loved climbing, so it's
The great part of it is that there's not many people are going to tell you to hurry up when you're out there. You know, what I mean,
right.
do your thing, you do it right.
Sitting there just
I mean,
enjoying it,
don't get me
having
wrong. I was
lunch.
never trying to, extend my time out there. You know, always wants to hang off the side of a building longer than they have to.
Right.
You also don't have the foreman going, let's go, we got to get going, Okay,
Yeah,
take
yeah.
it. If they did try and say, oh, I'll tell you what, you come out here then. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what that never works.
So did you do that in both towers?
Uh, it was only, well, the antenna was only on the North Tower.
Oh, was that okay?
I mean, yeah, I worked in both towers.
Okay.
It was not, but people don't understand. It was a whole complex. It wasn't just two towers. The
Right.
North and South Tower, Southeast and Northwest, they called them, oh, Jesus. Forget the name of them, but it was back basically where all when you'd walk in, there's a bunch of stores, Kelly film centers and, places to eat and stuff like that on the first couple of floors. So they
Okay.
have,
Yeah.
that was a lot wider and a lot bigger than people would understand.
Yeah.
And then, you go into and then on top of that, across the West Side Highway, eventually built what they called uh, Jesus, I'm having a senior moment here. Financial center, financial district, or anything where
Okay.
they it was almost like an auditorium where everybody would go for lunch, go hang out, and they would have concerts every once. But it kind of
Oh,
faced the river. It was really beautiful,
wow.
beautiful place to go.
Huh. I visited there when I saw John, and it's 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 got its own spirit to it now, but it's still a very beautiful place,
Hmm.
in a way.
I don't know. I
Um,
haven't been down.
yeah, yeah, I figured.
Never gone below. I've gone back to Manhattan, but I've never gone below the below Canal.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah. So this is a tough conversation, but can you take me through that day for you or with you? Take us through that day with you.
well. Here, this is. I suffer from what do they call it?
Survivor's guilt, is that
Virus guilt. Yeah. Okay.
yeah?
A week before, or actually 2 weeks before 9/11 happened, I got in a big fight with my foreman. I was supposed to go on vacation. He came out my check late, blah, blah. Anyway, so as punishment, they sent me what they call to a deck, which is an open construction. You're on the top deck. They sent me to the middle of Times Square. So I'm on the deck in Times Square. I gave my apprentice all my keys and everything. Jimmy Cartier is his name. Uh, when the first plane hit, uh, they the crew was in the other tower. They took the whole crew out of the tower, except for Jimmy because he had the keys. That I like I said, I'd been working there my entire life. I had keys for everything. He went to the roof to see a better view of the first plane that hit, not knowing that there was going to be another plane hit underneath him. The other plane hit underneath him, and they never found, his body or anything.
Right, sure.
So I was on the deck, and we just sent out the apprentice for coffee. And that's where we had flip phones. Flip phone starts going off. My wife's going, "Did you see what's going on?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "The Trade Center. A plane just hit the Trade Center." I was like, "Are you serious?" I looked, and I had complete direct line, and I could see smoke coming out of the side of one of the towers. I was like, "Oh my god!" And just as I'm saying that, now it's a little after 9, I see the second plane. I was like, "What is going on here?" So now I come down. I try to get down. Everybody else is coming north. I try to get down to. I got as far. I'm trying to pick the name of the street, but they had it all blocked off. It was just a big thing of smoke um, coming up. you couldn't breathe. You know, so I didn't know what else to do, you know, so I tried to get in this way, tried to get in that way, nothing. Tried to get to the river, tried to get back to Jersey. Everything was closed off. I ended up sleeping in Times Square. I mean, in Times Square in Central Park on a bench overnight until
Oh
they found
wow.
everything. Um, so that was my experience. I mean, my buddy John, he was actually in the building when it, you know, when it came down. He was on the 39th floor, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, you know, a lot of times, you know, they say you're a first responder. I was like, no, you know, I spent more time down here than anybody. I spent 5 years after it all happened down here. Um, I was one of the first people that got sent to help repair
So they sent you right. They sent you right in, basically,
here.
right?
Well, I got sent down there on the 23rd of September. Um,
Okay.
so it was,
About
my
10 days, 11
specialties, I'm
times.
an electrician. My specialty was um, fiber optic termination. So I did a lot of the computer work. So I got sent down to the Bloomberg Recovery Center. Um, that's where they sent all the banks there so they get back online and get working again. So we had to set up, you know, all these little spaces in a big warehouse for the banks to be able to operate. So we did that for about 3 months, and then I went down on, I guess it was December, September, October, yeah, and late December. It was late December, early January, and I remember it was just a big. My wife used to make me change in the garage every day. There's the smell of I smell. She says you smell like a walking barbecue. You know, from just from being in the
Oh,
area. You know,
yeah.
just the smoke. So and then went down. Like I said, it was the end of December or early January, and we started on the called the American Express building. It's right across the street. The first half of it, it's in the 20-something floor, was ripped out, you know, so you can see across. There's just a big pile of smoky.
Wow.
You know, I don't know. I mean, I used to go to the roof and fly paper airplanes and try to hit New Jersey. You know, I mean, that's what I did as an apprentice. You know, I just,
Yeah. Profoundly affected you over the course of your time, huh? Just a lot more than just not being there, but a lot of memories. A lot of,
and like I said, when we first went down there, the one, the one good thing about 9/11 that happened, that was the first time I saw this country come together. You know, no more, there was no Republicans or Democrats or this or that. It was like we were all Americans and we were going to go down there and fix whatever we had to fix and take care of whatever we had to do. And, uh, and I thought things were going to change, but I don't know. Things just keep, I don't know.
well, sometimes it's got to get worse before it gets better. Um, you know, our mental health crisis has risen, and being on this side of it and talking to so many people, I'm starting to see a shift in that, and you're seeing more and more people starting to wake up to who they are and the inside of and all this trauma. We're just sick of it. You know, there's this overflow of negativity that's gone on for too long, and people are starting to get tired. So we're on the forefront of that, Jimmy. I think people are starting to move in a different direction and away from all this stuff. And when they start waking up more and more, you know, with a lot of the things that are going on in our country and in the world, that we're going to be more loving and more kind. And I think it's
That's
coming. We're just not here yet.
because,
Yeah. It takes one person at a time, my friend, and it takes, you know, us all doing our part and looking inward so we can give outward. And you know, we were kind of talking about that earlier. Is I believe suffering is the catalyst to our gifts of Well, it gives us wisdom if we can transcend it. It gives us peace and pushes us in directions that we necessarily wouldn't push ourselves.
Well,
And
one of the things that taught me, well, being down there, up to that point, everything was about, oh, hey, you got to get the next, keep working, make more overtime. We're going to get the next nicer car. Okay, no, I need another house. I need,
right,
and afterwards it was like, no, I just want to live. I just want to be happy. Take one day at a time and just be happy for that day. Do whatever you
yeah,
got to be happy for that day because you don't know, what I saw on that day. You don't know what's going to happen to you 5 minutes from now. You
right.
know, we we think we're in charge of our futures and everything, but like I said, we make plans and God laughs.
Well, I don't disagree with you there. He keeps knocking me off my horse, so
Yeah.
it's and which is a good thing because it's pushing me in a direction that I would have never taken myself, and I would have
Same,
been too scared to take myself in this direction,
same here.
and I would have doubted more. But when you're left with like scraps, and you're like, this is the way to survive, and that survival turns into a beautiful life. It's like, oh, okay, that wasn't. It was bad.
Bring that up because when I was a kid, I started out as a Boy Scout and everything, and I ended up going to it's called Outward Bound. There was survival
Yeah,
schools. I
yeah,
ended up in Mount Rainier,
nice.
wilderness, back in the day. And part of it, they make you do a solo where you have to, survive on your own for 3 or 4 nights,
Hmm.
and isolation and that kind of stuff. But that gives you a certain insight into, and I thought I had, everything, uh, figured out up until 9/11, you know,
Right, right.
and like I said, and ever since then, it's just, one thing after another happens and you keep saying, wait a minute, I set this all up. This shouldn't have happened. But
Right.
again, we make plans and,
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the beautiful thing that I don't. I think complacency or comfort is the enemy of growth, and it's the enemy of evolution. Um, because without the mental health crisis, we're not going to get better. And that's the thing. It takes enough people getting sick and tired to start to roll that push the tide in a different direction. And I think that's what we're starting to see. And we're on kind of it's been pushing this way, but now we're starting to see results of things that started many years ago. And that's just my own like thought process in this. I don't know if I'm accurate or not, but I start looking at the history, even recent history, 50s, 60s, and I see how things have shifted very quickly. A lot of that is technology, industrial age. So we kind of go through these cycles in our lives where things are good, things are great. Jimmy, I can't tell you my life is better than it's ever been. It's also harder than it's ever been, but it's pushing me in a direction to where I can find peace in the difficulty. That's the light. And it's not that I'm trying to get there, it's because now I want to go through the process to understand how valuable this really is, and and put this stuff to rest that has haunted me.
well, that's one of the post 9/11 things that I've had to deal with. Or now, to that point, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then once you do all those things in your life, then what? And
Right.
and once you survive something like 9/11, you go through some, whether it's 9/11, a car crash, or once you survive that, things completely shift.
Hmm.
The things that used to matter to you just don't matter anymore.
Right.
And the things that you took for granted now matter the most to me.
Yep. And what are those things? They're inanimate, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
shouldn't say inanimate.
nice
It's
meal. All of a sudden, that nice meal when you're sitting there with your loved one or whoever it is,
yeah,
that means more to me now than ever. Petting
right.
when my cat comes up and starts nudging up to me, or I take my dog for a walk. Those are the things that Look, I got goosebumps. Those are the
Yeah,
things that matter to me.
yeah,
When my grandson, Papa, Papa, that's what matters to me. Not
right.
you know back in the day, it was like, oh, I got to do a pop a wheelie at 140 miles an hour, or you jump out of an airplane. I've done all those things. I've been skydiving. You know, I dove 150 feet.
Wow.
None of those things really matter in the end. What really matters is the everyday things that you take for granted.
Yeah. And I've talked to several people, and the one reoccurring theme is gratitude. Be grateful every day. Be grateful even for the hard things, because even the hard things teach us something if we pay attention. And it's really hard to be grateful. It's hard to, like, for me right now, I'm battling my rage in a way that I've never thought to battle it. And what happens is I start getting upset, and I'll hit my knees and I'll bow to it and I'll pray through it. And what that does within a few 30 seconds to a couple minutes is my spirit's calm again. So I'm, instead of fighting the thing that wants to fight me, I'm kneeling to it, is basically what I'm doing, and making it powerless. I believe that's what I'm doing. At least that's my theory. That's my hope, man. And so instead of, I heard this really cool thing the other day. My buddy said this. He's like, the same tools that got me to the bottom are the same tools I tried to use to get me out of the bottom. And I was like, oh, that makes sense to me. Now change the narrative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim. You know,
For me, it's been from a mindset of, I'm gonna do what I want regardless of the weather. Or I'm gonna build this, and I'm gonna do that. To where I'm more, nature now is my god. I just kind
right.
of, you know I love. I feel the best when I'm sitting with my dogs and cats, just
Yeah,
sitting there in the sun. Having a salad or something, or eating
sure.
an apple. That's
Yeah,
when I feel. That's when I feel the best. That's when I feel the closest to God. That's when I feel the calmest inside. It's when, all the crazy, as soon as you pick up your phone and, the text messages and all the craziness that happens in this world, it's just, don't get me wrong. It's necessary for this particular world that we live in, to survive and to, uh, maneuver through it. But that's not where the joy is. The
right.
joy, you got to look inside. It's the little things. That's where the joy comes from.
Yeah.
Like I said,
S
listening to your grandson, like laugh or something. It's like, that's fun. I
yeah,
don't know.
it is. It's one of the best things, actually. Um, so how has this experience affected you over the last 20 plus years? What has it
Um,
done? How did it shift
I,
you?
I was a lot more outgoing, party type and stuff like that, to where, kind of introspective. I became more, um, how can I put it? Like I said, when a lot of those things that I was, oh, I got to get the next car, the
Mhm.
next, another horsepower,
Yeah,
those things just don't matter that much. I mean, you still want those things, whatever it
sure.
is
Yeah,
that
there's
drives,
comfort in them.
but it's not the basis for me. Now the basis for me is, just to enjoy being with my family and,
Yep. So did with survivor's um, guilt, obviously a lot of remorse, a lot of shame, things like this. And from my own experience, shame is probably one of the biggest catalysts to, it's the perpetual ball hamster wheel to my anger. So every time I get angry, I feel shame because of it. And I'm more angry about it. And then I'm more shame. So it's a compilation of shame and anger that snowball together. Um, the it's
I mean,
often,
you should be ashamed of being angry. Angry,
oh my gosh, dude.
it's a good thing, believe it or not. It's what drives you
Well,
towards doing something better.
let me explain. I don't disagree with you, but
Control it.
But mine is rage. It's not just anger. It's not just frustration. It's flat out eyes roll back in your head, turn black, and rage. Yeah, it's the it's so powerful in my life that I would take my life because of it. It's cost me everything. Now, to agree with you, it has also pushed me to be who I am, and is continuing to push me in a direction that I never thought I would go in, and going down the road I'm going down right now, and becoming who I am becoming because of that. Because now, instead of it debilitating me or depressing me or shaming me, I'm I'm fighting back in a way that it doesn't understand. So I'm basically creating chaos for the devil right now. And that devil is my rage. And the devil doesn't like to be off balance. The devil knows how to respond with rage. The devil knows how to fight with rage. The devil knows the boundaries. And but when I start kneeling to it, that that darkness doesn't know what to do.
Mhm.
It has no place to play its game. So what does it do? It backs off. And that's where I was like, oh. So
That I never. I,
yeah. So and I heard this quote. It was chaos creates chaos creates, it keeps the devil off balance. And I haven't really been able to unpack that until right now.
yeah.
I'm like, so I'm like, because of that chaos, and the chaos is actually me kneeling to it and bowing to that rage and not giving it a place to play in the sandbox anymore. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
So the very thing,
you're
like,
taking power away from the devil. That's
yeah,
exactly what you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And instead of fighting back like I'm always doing and creating shame, that snowball, I was just like, I I swallow my pride. It's my ego every single time.
Yeah.
It's I can call it fight or flight, and those walls are built because of my childhood and blah, blah, blah. But it's still my ego. And I need to be aware of my ego. And that's one of the big things. So I believe, I mean, I am 1000% confident that I can put this thing to rest. Why? Because that's the power built within us. That's the drop of God in us. That's the ability to move mountains, and those mountains are deep within us sometimes, but we have the ability to move them. Never understood that. Never understood what that really meant in my life. And the mountain is me.
But I kind of, how can I put it? The way after 9/11, the way I had to kind of justify, how do you justify something like that? You can't, you just, you know,
We
I mean,
do.
I don't care how many times you say those people are terrible, they're devils and everything, but we all have that in us,
Mm-hmm.
um, to this day, I still don't know, you know, what would drive somebody to do that, uh,
We have a lot of powers in this world that, there's in these indoctrination processes, instead of teaching people how to navigate, we're just like in school. I mean, it's just a matter of we're teaching them to learn, and instead of to navigate really difficult situations in life. We're not teaching life skills the way that we should. I don't think it's a matter of indoctrinating people into a society instead of letting them think for themselves and be creative. We're suppressing that, and almost in every aspect, politics, religion, um, anywhere you go, spirituality, even there's there's no room. We're not giving each other space enough to be who we are. Like, you be who you are. I don't have to fix you. I don't have to change you, and you don't have to live by my narrative. And that's where I think that's the true nature of God. And if you want to like put it in a spiritual context,
we're going to put it in a spiritual context.
yeah.
We all,
But we're all looking through the veil on one side or the other, Jim. It's like either I'm looking and I see the darkness and it kind of taints when I look to the left and it opens the light. There's still the darkness, pressing at my back. I guess what I'm choosing now is I'm gonna focus more of my attention, hopefully all of my attention now, on what is good and what is light. Does it mean it's going to be easy? No, the darkness is always pressing at my back. I can't live in one without the other on this planet. Can't. That's just, what do I choose to look at and what do I choose to live as?
It's when we get to that point where it's not, the tribalism is no longer in effect,
Right.
because right now, it's always, my group is the only one that knows, what the right thing is. When we all come to realize that we are all the same,
Yeah.
we're all
Yeah.
the same group. And what's good for us, when Jesus came, giving you the 10 Commandments, or say Moses giving you the 10 Commandments, he was trying to tell you how to survive with nature. This is what you got to do to survive in this, not to be your own little world. This is everybody. If they follow these rules, we all get along. But
Yeah.
that's the problem. Nobody wants, everybody wants to follow it in their own direction or their own little situation.
Well, we've definitely, especially in this
We're
country.
all the same. We're all humans. We're all, we're all
Yeah.
earthlings, and that's something that since I was a little kid always, stuck in my mind. How would how would the world react if an alien actually came here? You know,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, wouldn't that bring us all together? Because now the tribe would be human race. It
Right.
wouldn't be,
Yeah.
Italians or, Cubans or, it wouldn't be, your ethnicity. You're all part of
The
God.
whole. Yeah.
You're all part, and
Yeah.
until we come to that realization as a species, I don't think we'll ever, move forward.
Yeah. My hope is that we will. Um, couldn't have given you that hope 8 months ago, 9 months ago, but I think it's possible, and I think it's possible within each of us, to make that happen. I mean, no, you ask anybody who's suicidal, if you could have a life without thinking about suicide, and live, like, would you rather live that, or would you rather take your life? They'd rather live every single time. It's because we can't get
That's my
past.
whole thing about live every day.
No,
Stop,
no. But it's just not easy to do that, and we can't see past the walls that have been built through trauma. And I think that's why it's going to get better, because there's more and more people coming out and speaking up about these really difficult subjects that we've been taught to bury for so long. It wasn't that long ago that men did not speak about their feelings, and you grew up in that era where that was not acceptable. It is more acceptable today than it was 20 years ago, even 20 years ago, you know. And even this subject is fairly new, even though we accept the foundations, that are out there, but there's not very many. And that's the thing. They're increasing on the suicide side of it, because our military is highly affected by it, by enlisted and by, the retired. They're highly affected by this. Our first responders are highly affected by this. It's it's epidemic, the mental health crisis right now.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's starting to overflow, and you see, uh, guys that are starting programs in the fire departments and the police departments that are bringing these men and women together to talk and to find solutions to the things that they see every day. Um, you can see it in their faces if you look close enough. If you just talk to a firefighter, or, somebody who's been through that kind of a traumatic experience on a regular basis.
Even that was one of my biggest hurts from. I grew up across the street from the firehouse, so I was like
Mm.
their mascot. But when I was 5 or 6 years old, I was in the back of the ladder truck driving the ladder truck. They used to let me go up to the bedrooms and slide down the pole,
Ha, ha.
free coke whenever I wanted. Everybody else had to pay a nickel, but I got it for free. You
Yeah.
know, but to me, firemen are they're can't put them on a higher, you
Yeah,
know.
they're
I
well
mean, who
they
else is out there and as a job risk their life to save others?
yeah,
You know,
and it's not an egotistical job.
yeah, none.
A lot of times we see with the police force, and I don't mean to put them in there, but there is a lot of ego behind carrying a gun and being authority over somebody, where a firefighter is going in to save, period. And that's also one of the things that's sad about, in recent years, about the police force, and maybe even prior to, was that abuse of power. And
Getting
so,
back to 9/11, what that was one of the things that really bothered me. Early on, it was about everybody that worked down there. It was, and then, tunnels to towers and everything. And then all of a sudden it all just, and, God bless them, the police and the firemen, but they weren't the only ones down there. How
right,
about all the people that are working? I mean, there was a tent set up that they made, breakfast and lunch for all the workers down there. And I mean, you never hear about the people that drove all the garbage, the truck drivers or the people that picked
right,
up all that stuff. I mean, they go under the radar, just
right.
like, I'm talking about myself too. I was construction work.
Mhm.
Every, when people ask, oh, you're a first responder, were you police or fireman? I was like, neither, and I'm not a first responder. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
even though that's my ranking. And, I came down with all the, everything from cancer to respiratory. I've had them all
hmm,
from 9/11.
yeah.
My point is that they weren't the only ones down there.
Right,
Anybody that was down there from Canal Street down, had to live. Like I was said before, I had to change my clothes in the garage because my wife wouldn't let me in the house because she said I smelled like a walking barbecue. And you could smell that. It was just, first day I was down there, I was pulling cables. It's a bunch of, bones fall. I said, oh, somebody forgot their lunch. It looked like chicken wings. And next thing I know, the EPA guy was there. They all had the full white suits with the masks on where there were little dust masks. And I'm going, what is that? Oh, don't touch that. Don't touch it. It's somebody's fingers,
yeah, geez.
left over. This ain't not the first, second, or third, or fourth time that happened while I was working down there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think people realized the suffering that went on down there. I
Well,
mean,
it's still, like, there's still, you talk to,
it's still ongoing.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that, from my understanding, that went kind of through that, still haven't really visited that, to the, those that were down there. Um, it's horrific.
We go for our, yearly, not, World Trade Center exam. They check you from head to toe. You're always sitting there in the waiting room looking to see who's going to come out with a tear in his eye because, somebody always does. And quite frankly, up until about 2 years ago, like, oh man, I was one of the lucky ones, and I always thought, because I was working in computers and stuff, I maybe avoided all that. And then I came down with cancer. Just,
Yeah.
again, I don't know. I wish I had an answer or something else I could say to, all I can tell the people I've been down there and people like me or have worked down there, just take one day at a time, enjoy every minute of every day because you don't know what's going to happen 30 seconds from now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the message.
How are you dealing with, I mean, I'm sure you go through some depression and things like that. How are, assumptively, I'm assuming right now, but
The depression is a constant, up and down, like,
so even to this day, it still profoundly affects you.
oh,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? It's just,
Well, I want to make sure that people understand that it doesn't necessarily quit. It's not over for some people, and it's not.
It never quits. I don't care what you do or how many psychologists, psychiatrists, or pills you do. It never goes away. It's always there. The whole thing is how do you deal with it on a daily
Yeah.
basis. We all have our own little tools, and that's what you got to do. If any of you out there are first responders or have anything to do with 9/11, like I said, enjoy every day of your life. Enjoy the people around you, because those are the things that matter. All the other cars, the motorcycles, none of that really, in the end, you can't take that to the grave. The only thing you can take to the grave are the happy memories you have from the people around you. So concentrate on that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. So what do you do now, Jimmy, to kind of maintain that, to try to stay out of the dark parts of that? Because those things kind of call to you when you're not expecting.
I always go towards nature, like being with my dog on a beach,
Yeah, you just got back not too long ago, didn't you? You just
that's it. There's it's in North Hollywood or Dania down in Florida. There's a dog beach there where you can actually take your dog on the beach, and to me, that's where I feel closest to God, is when I'm, laying on a beach in the sun, when I'm feeling that sun, and just have the bare minimum. All you need is a little chair. You don't need a lot. You need a little sandwich. Your dog needs a couple of treats. That's all you need, man. That's all you need to have a good time. And that's when I'm the happiest.
yeah, yeah. You can't have that all the time though. That's the problem.
You don't want it all the time either. Like everything else, it's just
Yeah, got to keep it for the special moments.
you can't enjoy it unless you only get it in little bits.
Right, right, right.
All good things come in small dosages. I've come to realize. Everything
Yes.
caviar to
Yeah, and appreciating the small doses, because sometimes they come with doses of frustration too. But learning to appreciate some of those small things really cuts down on the long term, um, and helps reformulate that thought
well,
process.
I think a lot of it has to do with our egos as human beings. We
Yeah,
can, we can control everything and run everything. And when you finally get to that point in your life where you realize that, that's not true.
yeah, yeah.
And that's when you have to learn you know, how to ride the wave instead of trying to fight the wave.
Right, right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Um, well, Jimmy, is there anything you want to leave us with? Any advice? I know you say enjoy each moment. Is there anything
That's
you want
that's the advice I would, um, stop trying to deal with the bigger picture. Just deal with the moment, because the bigger picture is just
It's an
it's
idea.
an idea you have in your mind. The only person that really knows what the bigger picture is God.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy, thank you so much for being here, man. I really appreciate you being here. Always love talking to you, and it's good to see you again, man.
Hey, we got to
Yeah,
get together soon, bro.
what's that?
We got to get together soon.
I know. I'll jump out there on the East Coast here, not too long, I don't think. So,
Hey, come on down to Florida.
oh, are you down in Florida now?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I'll come down to Florida. Go do some fishing with you. But
There you go.
yeah,
Now we're doing it.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you letting me, voice. This is another thing that really helps, especially 9/11 survivors, to be able to talk to other people that have had,
Yeah,
the similar experience.
for sure. For sure. Yep. I agree with you, man. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you on the good side.
Thank you.